Hello, our team is conformed by Diego Garcia and Ewans Tatto. And an issue that's currently happening in the world is that in 2020, in July 7th, Haiti's ex-president Jovenel Moise was assassinated at around 1 a.m. in the morning by the drug cartel. One of the reasons for this was that he was going to release a list of people involved in narcotics trafficking to the United States, which would have greatly affected their business.
Okay, our thesis or posture in this topic is that there is no justification for murdering someone. Well, from a philosophical point of view against the justification of murdering, there are no actions or passions that are subject to interpretations, which can be considered valid or invalid depending on the context. Aristotle describes it as in a meal term, and to explain this, a good example is that if Michael Phelps eat 3 chickens a day while he is preparing for the Olympic Games, it can be beneficial. But if he eats those same 3 chickens in his resting stage, it could be affect considerably. But some actions or passions are not subject to considerations, to their context or interpretations according to Aristotle. And these are, in the passions, malignity, shamelessness, and envy. In the actions, adultery, theft, and murder. Relating to this case, Relating this to the case of the assassinated president, from this Aristotelian point of view, in the case that there was a justifiable motive for the assassins, there is not even openness to hear it or consider it as valid because killing someone enters into the moral absolutes or moral laws that Aristotle has described in several of his books and writings, such as the second book of the Nicomachean Ethics.
A possible argument that can be made in favor of the killer's actions is that in 1967, Philippa Foot introduced a philosophical exercise that questions the morality of humans. This exercise goes like this. You're standing near a track where there is a train heading straight for a group of 5 distracted people who will inevitably be killed by the train. You can intervene and pull a lever that will divert the train to change the track, saving the 5, but it will kill another distracted person on the other track. What would you do in this case? Philippa Foot's exercise consists of several situations very similar to the one above, each with a slight change, where your action may become more direct, such as pushing a person to stop the train. This exercise generally results in the same responses from people, which helps to understand universal moral reasoning. Jeremy Bentham introduced utilitarianism in 1780, which is a major contribution to the argumentation of this topic. He proposes that humans are governed by two characteristics to morally judge some situation or decision, which are pain and pleasure. Bentham uses this principle to define that the right thing to do is always to maximize utility, which means that we should do what we can to obtain the greatest good for the majority, avoiding pain and seeking pleasure. According to this idea, the only reasoning you should use is the consequentialist one. This means that what is important is the result obtained. If it favors pleasure, the motive and the process is justifiable. Relating utilitarianism and Foot's exercise to the assassination of Haitian's President Moise, one could argue that the assassins were justified. The main reason why he was assassinated by the Haitian cartel was because Moise tried to send the United States a list of people linked to the drug trafficking. If the president succeeded in sending this list, it would have caused a lot of pain to the assassins who were involved in drug trafficking, affecting their business. That is why, from their perspective, they were only looking for pleasure, so they could use the consequentialist reasoning, which meant killing the president. Looking at it this way, focusing on their perspective and the end they reach, their actions are justified. We are all entitled to make moral judgments about an event from our own perspective, but can we judge an outsider's judgments about these events? A favor against this perspective or this argument is that Immanuel Kant is against relying on utilitarianism to answer Foot's moral dilemmas. He considers it wrong to act exclusively on the basis that our desires for pleasure and pain. Although humans enjoy pleasure and try to avoid pain as much as possible, it is wrong to conclude that we should rely purely on these principles. If we were to act in this simple way, the distinction between human and animal would disappear. One of the defining characteristics of humans is the ability to reason and the autonomy to make our own decisions without relying on someone specific. Following our desires for pleasure would turn us into mere slaves driven by these primitive impulses. The right way to act should be in accordance with laws that have been self-imposed based on human reason and categorical reasoning. This reasoning focuses on the morality of the action rather than purely on the consequence of the action.
Well, in conclusion, as we said in the beginning of the video, from our point of view, we agree with both Immanuel Kant and Aristotle in the position that there is no justification for murdering someone because we are taking away someone else's freedom, taking away their human value and the right to live, knowing that we are no one to decide who lives or dies. We let alone perform such as an action for pleasure based on utilitarianism. We merge both the absolute values of Aristotle that killing someone is in any situation is wrong, and the position of Kant, which mentions that it is wrong to rely on primitive instincts of pleasure or pain to make decisions. We should reason deeply in an autonomous way to do the right thing.
Thank you.